The more time I spend talking to adults who played Neopets when they were younger and learning about real-world financial literacy, the more I recognize that Neopets can teach you a lot of skills about actually managing your real-life money. In real life, though, you have all the resources imaginable, endless books, and even financial advisors that can direct you on how to best handle your money. On Neopets, it's a little bit more abstract and specific, the ways that you can save or manage your money, and I thought it'd be interesting to apply the concept of if there was a Neopets financial advisor, what would they say? How would they advise you to handle your neopoints? What would they focus on? So today we're going to talk about a few different ways to think about your neopoint portfolio, your assets, your goals, and auditing your own behaviors. The best way to get any sort of footing on your financial situation is to keep a journal for a week or a month on your expenses and your gains. So for me, what this looks like is either a journal or a Google Sheet where I literally keep track of where the neopoints come from and where they go. I did this for about a month with Food Club Bets to make sure that I was actually making a profit off of the Food Club Bets. Spoiler alert, I totally was. Food Club Bets I've made a huge profit on. But it's good to know where your gains are actually coming from. For me, I play the stock market every day, I play Food Club Bets, I do dailies, and that's an expensive process to go through, and being able to recognize how many neopoints you're making from what activities and what activities are just sucking neopoints out of you so that you have an understanding of what your net worth is over time. For me, what it looks like is every day I withdraw 105,000 neopoints. The 100,000 is for the Wheel of Extravaganza, which I'm trying to get the avatar for, and everything else is for all of the other events that I do. The small ones, Fairy Caverns takes 400 neopoints, Wheel of Excitement takes 500 neopoints, knowing how much I should take out. And then I'm able to do other activities like Fairyland Employment Agency and generate enough neopoints to cover buying stocks for the day, which I buy 1,000 of the cheapest stock that I have the lowest quantity of every day. It's called Diversifying Your Portfolio. We're going to get more into it in a minute. And then I sell when they reach a value of 60 neopoints per share. I do have a video about the Neopets stock market. It's worth checking out. I'm looking into making a new one just to go deeper into it. And what it comes down to is the other day I bought 1,000 stocks, and then I turned around and I sold some stocks and I made 170,000 neopoints. For me, that was a net gain of 160,000 neopoints on the stock market that day. Being able to know where your neopoints comes from is incredibly valuable if you're going to set any type of realistic goal on a timeline. If there was a Neopets financial advisor, here are the things that I think that they would try to instill in you. They would try to help you develop financial management strategies. And I'm using the word develop because you have to start small and work your way up. This is something you have to actively practice. I know that in my life, when I try to add a new habit, I can't just completely dive in. You can't just go cold turkey on old habits. You have to introduce a new habit in gradually, ramp it up, learn how it fits into the system of your life. So for me, the number one thing that I learned when I was younger on Neopets, and this is 100% transferred over and become a great real life saving tip, is put your things in the bank. So bank account usage is number one, and most virtual pet games have a bank. So this is applicable to lots of games, not just Neopets, but specifically Neopets because we're talking about Neopets. Every time I am browsing the site and the amount of neopoints I have on hand exceeds 1,000 neopoints, I put it in the bank. I put all amounts of 1,000 in the bank. I only ever have less than 1,000 on hand. It's a good way to just keep growing it, and then you see the number go up and you feel good about it, and you don't want to break the progress that you've made. A great way to keep money growing is to plan your purchases. If you know ahead of time what you're going to want to buy when, it's a lot easier to not do it impulsively. You're going to want to set goals about what you want to buy, knowing what you like and what your interests are. That requires a little bit of self-knowledge and research, but if you know what you want to purchase, it's a lot easier to then make a strategy about purchasing those things. And then if you come across something that you impulsively want, this is where the biggest issue comes into play, right? Like impulse purchases. It's why you get emails in the morning about shop deals, because you're more likely to make impulse purchases in the morning. And if you think about the purchase, you're not going to get it. So you want to delay checkout on impulse purchases as much as possible. If you're in a shop and you see what you think looks like a great deal on an item, don't do it. If you really want that item, you could save up and buy it later. Don't buy it just because it looks like a great deal or something you might want to try out. A great way to do this with virtual games is just walk away. There's so many times that I've gotten up from the computer and gone to do something else for 20 minutes because I really wanted to buy a dragon or something. And it's just if you're away from the computer, it literally doesn't exist anymore. So delay the checkout on impulse purchases. After you've covered auditing your own practices and developing new habits that are healthier and will help grow your value, you can start looking into diversifying your revenue streams. And this is also a way to diversify your portfolio. When you think about very financially successful people, they usually don't do just one thing. They usually have their hands in many types of business. For instance, keep in mind just an abstract famous YouTuber, any one of your favorite YouTubers that is incredibly successful. They probably not only have a YouTube channel, but also a podcast. They probably also sell merch, and they probably also go to conferences. Those are 4 different ways to make income. Those are 4 revenue streams. And this way, if one of those things falls off, they still have money coming in. On Neopets, you could do this just as well, and you're going to want to diversify your portfolio of income models with high risk and low risk activities. For me, I basically do food club bets, stock market, dailies, and the wheels. But here are a list that I put together of what I think to be some common forms of income and spending. Stock markets, food club bets, flash games, Fairyland Employment Agency, and stocking. The lowest risk activity of that is the flash games. It's also the smallest way to make currency on Neopets, and most people who I talk to who have always struggled to make neopoints only ever dipped into flash games. And the most lucrative, but also high risk method of making neopoints is restocking, or the food club bets, depending on your skill level in both of those activities. What you're going to want to do is make sure that all of your income isn't coming from one place. So this is something that's so important, and I like to tell people on Flight Rising and other games, you can't just hang your hat on one income model. You need to introduce many different ways that money is coming into you. And so if you're only making neopoints from one activity, you might want to consider branching out and trying other things to see if any of those other models work for you. The final thing that a Neopets Financial Advisor would want to work with you on is something that we talk about a lot on this channel, which is defining and structuring goals. The most important thing about goals, of course, are that they are achievable, they're practical, that they're firm, and that there's a timeline. So first of all, identifying the goals, knowing what it is you want, figuring out if it's realistic, which is important that you audit for so that you know when you can make how much. So that becomes a realistic timeline. Being able to quantify how much you need to make by when is a crucial part of it. And being able to plot a map and understanding what that goal should look like, how it's completed. A financial advisor would sit down with you and make sure that you have goals and that they are realistic. Anyways, I hope this was a helpful or insightful look into making financially literate decisions about your virtual financial life. And I think the skills are pretty transferable and that it's super interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any tips or recommendations, leave them in the comments below. I think it's a good resource of being able to share advice with one another. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Be good to each other. Bye.